me, pal.
Never grow old, Michael.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Showtime.
Springs first blood. Springs first blood. Springs first blood. Springs first blood. Springs first blood.
Welcome back to Sinister Scripts Podcast, where we watch all the horror movies you know and love, and some that you've probably never heard of. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, David.
What's going on?
And today we've got a very special guest, and joining us today is Michael Mao, the who plays in the recent horror thriller Sugarcane. So, Michael, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Speaking of movies you've probably never heard of.
Hey, you know what? We are doing our damnest to make
Right?
sure that people
That's why,
find
that's
this
why we're
film.
here, man.
So yeah, we definitely are glad that we're fortunate enough to cross paths with Pat and DJ and Teague and the whole postmortem crew who turned us on to this movie, and through many channels it got to meet you. So we're very glad that we were able to make this happen, because I really enjoyed the film and I can't wait to talk with you a little bit about it.
Let's talk.
So I want to start first with a little bit of background about you. I want to start kind of back at the beginning and tell me what kind of drew you into acting. You've been doing film for quite some time and have quite an extensive background. So I want to know when was this something you realized you wanted to take seriously and really make a go of this?
When I want to take it seriously. Well, most of my adult life, I have been an English teacher, or had been an English teacher for
Oh, wow.
20 years. I taught English literature, creative writing, film studies, speech and drama. So,
Okay.
And during most of that time, I wasn't doing a lot of acting other than trying to act like a normal human being.
Sure.
Definitely performing in class for my students and, whatever, Shakespeare, etc. But
Mhm.
Right.
I started acting when I was young, and I really kind of gave it up in college. And so the longer I'd been away from it, I could feel that distance. And so at some point I started doing community theater again while I was teaching. And one night at rehearsal, one of my castmates had to leave early to go to a commercial audition. And I just asked her, I was like, well, how'd you get that? What? And she said, oh, through my agent. And I was like, no, I don't know, through your agent. Because even as a kid, it's like you see people do this as a career,
Mhm.
Right.
but there seems to be this great gulf between, the idea of being an actor and the business of being an actor. And
Right.
so
Sure.
anyway, she connected me with her agent. I auditioned for the agency, and I guess at that point I became a professional actor. My first paid acting gig was in a cancer drug commercial.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep. And so that was another reality check about what it means to be an actor.
sure.
But I got to do my first real professional job that got me eligible for to join SAG-AFTRA, the union,
Hmm.
was a country music video in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
And it was me and Michelle Monaghan, who you may know from the most recent White Lotus,
Oh, wow. Okay.
or from Mission Impossible movies or True Detective.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did that, and I thought, okay, if this is what this life is, I want in. And I taught for a few more years before the acting jobs became more and more, and my interest in teaching, kind of began to dwindle.
Right.
2020 had a big part
Sure.
to do with that. I was teaching online at that point because no one was in
Yeah.
school.
Hmm.
And I thought, it's time. So I moved back to my home state of Georgia, moved back to Atlanta, where most film and TV is shot in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Yep.
And that's been it. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
long story.
No, that's really interesting because,
It is, yeah.
I think, I think 2020 had that impact on a lot of us, a lot of people. And so I think, I mean, I imagine teaching math online is one thing, but teaching like drama and trying to like do this via virtual would be really challenging.
Mhm.
It was tough, especially, I had my last year, I was teaching college freshmen, and these were college freshmen who hadn't finished their senior year in high school because of COVID.
Mhm.
Right.
And then they had never stepped foot on a college campus.
Wow.
So they didn't even really know how to be college students. They're still in their bedrooms in their PJs acting
Yeah.
like, high school kids on an extended summer vacation. So like, and at that point, we still weren't sure how serious the pandemic was. And so
Right.
they were like, maybe I'm going to be dead next year.
Right. Like how serious am I going to take life right now?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Where did you teach at?
My last teaching job was actually in Kentucky.
Okay. We're in Kentucky. I'm from Illinois originally, so we're Atlanta based now. So whenever I used to drive home to Illinois, go right up through Kentucky, right up through Paducah, Kentucky. It's my hometown is about an hour from Paducah, Kentucky. So
Okay, yeah.
a lot of our trip is from in Kentucky. Kentucky and Georgia are like the biggest states to drive through. I swear, Georgia for sure. When I have family in
Oh
Florida,
God, yeah.
and so when I lived in Illinois, we used to drive down to Gainesville, Florida. And there was like a 12-hour drive, but 9.5 hours of it was Georgia, like the top of Georgia,
Going through
straight,
Georgia, yeah.
straight down through Valdosta, all the way down through I was like, I remember when I was a kid, I was like, if I never see Georgia again, I'll be so happy. And then I ended up living here all these
Right.
years later. So that's super interesting. So that kind of leads me into my next question is like, you've had a range of roles, right? Starting with commercial into music videos, film, like everything we've kind of seen a lot here.
Yeah.
But Sugarcane, the role of Arthur really kind of stood out for me. And what was your reaction when you read the script to a character like this? Because for those of you who have seen the film or maybe haven't seen the film, I would consider this like a horror thriller, and the character of Arthur is very complex. Right. He's dealt with some trauma, clearly, as you learn the character's backstory, and then becoming this kind of villain of a role. So when you read the role, what were your first thoughts?
Well, to be honest, when I read it, when Pat first sent me, I mean, this was just even part of the script.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a fully fleshed out character.
Okay.
I mean, really, Arthur on the page of the original Sugarcane script was just this dark, brooding, evil force, and and even you read down. I think the very end of the first chunk that he sent me, it ends with Arthur puts on a mask.
Okay.
And so, what I tried to do in just looking at that, if I were going to take on this role, was I didn't want to play an arch villain. I didn't want to play the evil basement dweller who really gets his kicks off of torturing people.
Sure.
Right.
Because it just, I feel like it didn't feel grounded to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just I looked at myself in the mirror, I played with different voices, and I tried to find a human in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what helped really, honestly, is that, there were also these scenes with Marjorie, Arthur's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And in those scenes, he's feeding her, he's taking care of her. And so you get to get this idea that, like, okay, well, it's not on the page, but Arthur had to come to this home, make the decision to come live with his mom to take care of her, but he's also in his basement, live streaming, Red Room activities.
Right.
And what actual human, what do you have to do to be able to make that decision to be both of these people? And so the character that just kind of grew out of that was a guy who was just both desperate and also, neurodivergent, clearly, not to say autistic. I don't mean that as, but that he doesn't think about relationships in the same way as other people, and that's when Pat and I actually started talking about his relationship with his father, this Otto character who is never in the film. But the only glimpse we get of him is when Marjorie, the mother, who has is suffering with dementia, she calls him Otto.
Yep. Are you still my
all we
sprightly
get.
girl, my sprightly gal?
Right, my sprightly gal. That's all we get, and so we talked about a lot about all right, who is Otto? What does he mean to Arthur? Why does he get upset when she says his name? And so there's a lot in Arthur that is a traumatized person himself.
Yeah, that's definitely okay. I like how it was interesting how, and I always find this interesting when people are asked about characters and they say, well, it was really just I had this and I had to kind of build this character out of this little bit, and then the pieces kind of came to you piece by piece, because that happens a lot in a lot of filmmakers I talk to, a lot of actors I talk to, where they have a very small piece and then they make it their own, which in my opinion, the character of Arthur, it almost makes him that much more scary and terrifying because it's real. It's a real person who has real traumas, who has has become this other character and is like kind of almost like a dual lives going on. Because I always thought the character of Michael Myers and they're evil, they're scary to be scary, but I think what made Arthur and this movie just everything fit and become much more terrifying is like the realism of it. Because clearly, to your point with Otto, the way I interpreted it was that yes, there's definitely a trauma there that was, I think, with his father, and and with like a lot of parents of a neurodivergent son. Maybe something happened when he was young, right? That kind of transformed him into what he has become now. And you're right, that little piece of him is still there. He's caring for his mother, like you said. He made those choices to do that,
and I think that. Yeah. I think that Arthur thinks also that he is caring for Phoebe.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
And I know that's tough to, because at the same time he is actively harming her.
Yep.
But I think that when he is harming her, it is very painful to him. At least emotionally.
Yeah.
And
right,
so,
yeah.
Not that I want anyone to to feel enough empathy for him that they, would forgive what he does. I mean, he abducts a teenage girl.
Right.
And, at some point in their relationship, as is, required by Sugarcane, he's going to have to kill her.
Correct.
And that can never be excused.
No.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it was interesting, like the relationship, like you mentioned, because he thinks he has this relationship. So it's like this twisted version of what he believes a relationship is with Phoebe, and and then like he believes he cares about her, but then ultimately, I think he knows in his mind what the end goal is, like to how this can never work, and I think that torments him also, in his own head. The character of Arthur is clearly tortured, and so when you were playing this character, what kind of headspace did you have to get into to kind of become that? Because a lot of people, they say, oh, you got to be able to separate your characters. People, you see the famous roles like Heath Ledger, like they get too far into it, but like when you're a character like this, it's some darkness there.
Yeah, it was tough. I think that the more the more we were together, just as a crew, casting crew,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was easier to play and to go, to come in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
and especially in the moments when, and I mean, like, it's a fake knife and
Right.
fake blood and all of that, but in the moments when I had to interact with Lacey
Hmm.
um in a menacing way, it's really difficult. She was 17 years old, and
Yeah.
yes, her mom or her dad are like within arm's reach right
Right.
off camera.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just trying to come down from that is tough. So I put on headphones. I had a Arthur playlist, and I try to walk away and
Mm-hmm.
not be around people. And I think that Pat. I think Pat and a couple other people on set would say, well, Michael's kind of got, he's still like it was a little method, and I was like, it's not. I don't know that I would consider it method acting.
Right.
I didn't want to come across as insincere, but I
Right.
also I wanted to distance myself as a human from other people
Right.
because the couple of times when I did have interactions on set when we weren't filming, I was kind of short with people and
Yeah.
not real nice, and
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
it was just easier if I was separated.
That makes a
Right.
lot. That makes a lot of sense. That could be. I can see that being really tough. Like I'm a very personable person. I like to talk and interact, and I'm like, but you're trying to, you want it to, yeah. You try to separate it because like I feel like when you're coming into those scenes, you're supposed to be menacing. You want to elicit that reaction from your co-star, but it's like a double-edged sword because it's like I'm also like you said, she's 17. Like we interact. We're nice people. Like I don't.
Right.
This is not who I really am. But it's like trying to
Yeah,
separate that and pull that apart is hard. Um,
Hmm.
for what it's
and
worth, it came across horrifying.
Yes. Very much so.
I did also have a talk with Lacey's parents and with Lacey, and one of the first things I said was, "Look, I am a father of teenage children.
Yeah.
Like, I own a cat, and I used to teach, so I was
Yeah.
trying to like. So please understand, I'm a person first.
Yeah.
In a few minutes, I'm not going to be someone you want to spend time with.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Try to like meet the real me, the person
Yeah.
me. Yeah. Exactly. I have to know what's your cat's name.
Uh, it's a long story. Okay, so the short answer, Monty.
Monty.
But Monty is short for Selena Montgomery.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and Selena Montgomery is the pen name of Stacey Abrams, the politician
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams.
Yep.
She writes like romance thrillers.
Oh,
And
really?
Her pen name is Selena Montgomery.
That's
So we named my cat after that, even though he's a boy.
that's amazing.
I did not know that.
That's amazing. I asked because I'm a cat person. I have two
All right.
cats, so I was like, I gotta know the name of the cat. Yeah, my cat's name is Ripley after Ellen Ripley from Aliens.
Nice.
So and yeah, I was like, I had to find out. So
Speaking of, we got the Fincher Aliens poster.
yep.
Yeah, it's in German.
Yeah, it's not my favorite of the Alien movies, but I'm excited. I'm watching the
Yeah.
new one that's out, Alien Earth, the show that's out right
Yeah,
now.
on FX.
Yeah, it's so far so good. So I'm like hoping that
Yeah.
I'm like hopefully they continue to do good things. But
Yeah.
David, I didn't want to. If you had any questions, David, I didn't want to keep just
No,
rattling.
I did want to know, like, did you have to draw any inspirations for Arthur at all? Because, like, as soon as you walked into that coffee shop, I was like, okay, that guy's the killer. He looks like a serial killer, and I was like, he is like glasses and a mustache away from being a full blown serial killer.
I'm not the director here. I'm not. I wish that in that whole opening section that you had not seen my face at all. I
Mhm.
wish
Yeah.
it had just been on Phoebe in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But because, yeah, I mean, like, it's like, I'm like, guy who has no social skills trying to order a coffee is
Right.
gonna come across as like, oh yeah, yep, that's him.
Like, give
Also,
me-
sometimes me actually at Starbucks going
With the white van.
with the I can't the what is 20 in Italian?
Yeah. Do you have any
Yeah.
coffee without anything in it?
Yeah.
No syrups or whatever.
That's funny.
Your brain, man.
Yeah.
So you were saying inspiration. I think just going back to what I said at the beginning, I was trying to not be inspired in particular by, a sort of, force of nature killer from any number of films. I've definitely gotten, comparisons from critics. We've got the Norman Bates comparison. We've got the oh gosh. I've totally lost every single one out of my head. But I wasn't thinking of that. I was just trying authentic as I could.
Right.
I had to watch Psycho again after reading like, oh yeah, Norman Bates, and I'm like,
Right.
I mean,
not, I don't know, like that was a whole different mommy relationship.
Yes, it was.
very, very much so.
But
So I wanted to ask, of course, I'm sure you've gotten this one several times, but the mask. Let's talk about the mask, the Bunny Man mask. How did that, like, it's become such a creepy presence in the film. And can you tell us more about it? Where did it came from? Who developed it? Was it homemade? Like, and how did it feel to wear that? Did you feel creepy? Did you feel like you were in a different body when you wore that and had those scenes?
Yeah, there's a lot to the mask. As I said, original script, it just
There's
says
the mask. There we
mask.
go. Yeah.
And at some point in the process, Pat had written something, or maybe it was in some like kind of promotional material about don't fall down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the process of developing the character and to also do some like set decoration, I was collecting a bunch of photos of myself as a kid, and I was specifically looking for photos of me looking sad and pathetic and angry and Arthur-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a photo of me at Easter wearing these bunny ears, and I'm standing next to my brother, and I'm like,
Yep.
and so I cropped my brother out and I sent it to Pat, and I was like, this is Arthur. And so he starts looking for bunny masks. It's like, all right, now we've got the whole, like, the motif we're going for. And he found some Halloween masks, these latex bunny mask, and he sent it to me. And I didn't say anything at first, but I was like, there's no way I'm wearing a store-bought mask. I'm just like, this seems dumb. Sorry, Pat. Also, you're welcome.
Right.
And so I was like, Arthur would make his own mask.
Sure.
Like, this is a very personal thing to him. And I was like, all right, so if Arthur has a rabbit thing, it's probably related to abuse from his dad, and so I started crafting a mask, and it's plaster. And so I did a plaster cast of my face.
That's awesome.
And then I built off of that with paper mache ears. I stitched up the eyes and the mouth with thread. And so the mask conforms to my face only. Like, it is built for me.
Yeah.
So when I put it on, it's just tight on my face.
Okay.
And it's heavy. The ears are light because they're, basically cardboard.
Yeah.
Right.
Covered with, there's like plaster on the outside, but
Okay.
I mean, it's a piece.
Yeah.
But but you can feel it, and it weighs you down. And Arthur,
Oh.
when he has the mask on, like you have to adjust your posture to wear the thing. And that, that first moment when he puts it on,
Mm-hmm.
and says, "We're just getting started." Yeah, I'm wearing it, so I don't get to see the
Yeah.
mask.
Right.
I just get to see, the eye holes, like the beginning of Halloween when you get to see what Michael Myers sees. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But looking at myself in the mirror with the mask on, you really do get this sense that you are an ominous being.
Oh yeah. It's definitely menacing, that's for sure.
I can't tell you like how many times I've worn this shirt out and like people are like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's from a movie." And they're like, I explain it a little bit and they're like, "Wait, a killer wears this in a movie?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "That's awful." Like that. I don't like. I'm gonna close. Like when I close my eyes, I'm gonna see this. It was so funny because it glows in the dark. The one time I was my daughter. I gotta tell you this story. My daughter went to sleep and she got up and was like, "I need water." And I came upstairs and it was dark. It was dark and my shirt was glowing. She about came out of her pajamas. I'm
Oh
not
my
even.
God.
She was like she was so scared and I was like, "Oh, it's just a shirt, it's just glowing, it's a mask from a shirt." And she's like, "What is that?" Because she's 8. She's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a mask from this movie." And she's like, I mean, she loves horror movies, she is on my wavelength, but I remember that was like, so it is menacing, it is frightening, and I
it does
thought,
the
and
job.
it was so unique because the hard part is, to your point, like the Halloween masks, we've seen so many masks and versions of masks and rip-offs of other masks that are slightly different, and this one I felt was so unique, and I was like, man, this is just something I hadn't seen before, and so I loved what it turned out to be. So yes, thank
Yeah.
you to you for crafting it versus wearing a store-bought mask.
Store-bought mask, yeah, it wouldn't have had the same impact for sure.
And when the film was over, I didn't want to look at it anymore, so I gave it to Pat, and
Okay.
it's at his house, locked up, safe for
A rainy day.
Yeah. Well, the distributor, Buffalo 8, one of their marketing folks contacted me and asked me if I could do a video wearing the mask, and I'm like, I'm in Atlanta. The mask is in North Carolina at a very safe distance from me. No.
Pat was telling me we still have the van though.
So the van belongs to a neighbor of mine,
Okay.
and I have made offers to buy it, but she's holding on to it.
Okay.
So
It was funny. Pat joined on one of the TikTok lives that I did, and he was like, "Oh, when's your interview with Michael?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, you should try to see if you guys can meet up in person." And I was like, "That's a really good idea." And like logistically, I was just like, "I'm so busy with work." I was like, "We're gonna do this one. I'd love to meet up at some point." But he was like, "Oh, Michael, maybe he can pull up in the van, and take you for a spin." And I was like, "I don't know about that. I'm out."
yeah. I'd love to have it. I mean, it doesn't run great. It has no AC or heat, and it's on its last legs. But I'd still love to own
Yeah.
it.
It'd be a fun
would be
piece.
cool.
It was definitely, I always got creeped out by those. There was always like the free ice cream written on the side of the van. You always saw the, I was like, always panel van with no windows. Yeah, it was danger, 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 Will Robinson.
Exactly.
So what was the most like physically or emotionally tasking scene from Sugarcane? You mentioned like working, with,
Nice.
yeah, like trying to be menacing, but then also having to separate yourself. How did you kind of push through that?
Well, there were two scenes, two shots that were, for me, just almost unbearable.
Yeah.
The first was towards the end. Arthur, I'm supposed to come through this like plastic sheeting with an axe.
Yep.
But those ears stick up off my head really far. And so every time I would go through, they would get hung up on the
Hung up.
plastic sheeting.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I'm holding, and I have to be precise with this axe because it has to land at a very specific spot,
Yep.
Right.
or else it either looks fake, or or I'm not hit, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it over and over and over, and I'm like, I can't wear this mask anymore. I was getting mad. I was like, Pat, I'm doing it without the mask. He's like, well, we'll figure it out. We'll slit the plastic more. I was like, this movie's over. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, it was we shot it in my house is the location.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I was just like, y'all can leave.
Get the hell out.
The wrap.
So yeah. The second was, and I mean, there is another part towards the end where Arthur is hurt a little bit on his back,
Yep.
and I have really bad tendonitis in my shoulder,
Okay.
and so I have
know
to
it,
like
yep.
reach around my back. And
Oh,
I can't
God.
get my arm to go anywhere, and it's like searing pain, which is good, for the movie because I'm like calling out in pain, and I was really in pain.
Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Came across as yeah, it fit, he said it fit the
yeah,
film,
no.
but gotta take some
That was,
800 milligram ibuprofen afterwards.
Oh, that's 100% accurate. Yes.
Well, everything came like I said, everything came across, and like you can tell, like during even the scenes like with oh, what is her name, Phoebe, everything came across as just very like it was tense, emotionally tense is how it came
Yeah.
across. So I mean, it was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought that I mean. Every time I hear someone play a dark role and go to a dark place like that, I'm like, man, I've always wanted to be in a movie. I'm like, I want to act, but then I'm like, I don't know if I could do that because I wear my heart on my sleeve and everyone knows what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and I would have a hard time like compartmentalizing that piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. But I know that, one of the things I had to keep reminding myself of, and I've played several dark roles. I have this. I was cast in this show that we haven't started shooting yet, and during one of my callbacks, the director said, everybody else who auditioned for this, after the scene was over, they went back to looking normal, but you just have evil in your eyes.
Oh, thanks, I guess.
That's why we
Thank
cast
you.
And I was like,
Thanks, I guess.
I just think I have like a big brow. I think it's just shadowy.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that we all have. I mean, I assume that we all have some level of darkness in us.
Sure.
Whether it's when we're in traffic or behind some idiot in the store, or
That's
when a
true.
telemarketer calls,
Yeah.
or whatever, and just remind myself of that and be like, yes, and you. No matter how angry you get in certain times, you eventually come back to normal. So
Yeah, it is funny. That's my daughter calls it what does she call it? My driving voice. My driving voice. Like the other day we were driving and she's like, Daddy, she's like, you're always so like having fun and making jokes, but when we're in traffic, you get this driving voice. And I'm like, well, what does the driving voice sound like? And she looks at me and she goes, like a car pulled out and like, almost in unison, she goes, look at this fucking guy. And I was like, oh God. I was like, that's what I sound like. That's what I say. She goes, yeah, you say that all the time. And I was like, I'm in
honey,
like,
you live
I'm,
in Atlanta.
I
Yep.
mean, yeah,
You kinda have
exactly.
to,
I
yeah.
know, but it was just funny because I was like my driving voice. So like that's probably like you said, like the darkness in me is like in traffic or dealing with like a teleprompter where they're like press 1 for this, press 2 for this, and you're like 7, like you're like person, representative, like screaming into the phone. Like those are the two places where I'm like, that's where I would go to if I ever had to get like angry immediately for a role. That's where I'm going to. So that's funny. That's funny that we're all the same. But yes, Atlanta traffic. If you don't know, listeners, now you know Atlanta traffic. I promise I've driven everywhere, almost a lot of big cities in the United States. Atlanta's the worst. I've never driven in LA. So I can't
Very
speak to that
similar
one.
to Atlanta.
Okay. So awful.
Yeah, it's so just shitty.
It's just
terrible.
if you if you like going 10 miles an hour on the interstate like it's a side road,
Right.
then
Yeah.
you're fine.
But then everyone's still trying to go 100 somehow. It's
Oh,
like they're still trying. Like we
yeah.
can't
Yes.
we can't physically do this. And then you kind of go between that, and then at nighttime, it's like, oh, nighttime it clears out. It's like, oh no, all times of the day.
No,
You
yeah.
think this is a good time? No, all times of the day.
No.
And then at 2 a.m., you've got drag racing on I-285 or 85.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And not a cop to be found.
Yeah. I'm like,
Nope.
they're like, what do you mean drag racing? I'm like, have you seen Fast and the Furious?
Yeah.
That is what Atlanta's like.
That's what it's like. I literally, yeah, I just got passed so fast my car did a donut on the interstate from the
Yeah, it's
Jeep
like
forces.
yeah, it's like Wile E. Coyote. It's like, like from the Roadrunner.
Spinning
Like
around.
it's funny. So, um, so I had a couple more questions here on my list, and then we can kind of open it up. Looking back at your career so far, what's been like the most surprising or unexpected lesson you've like learned from a role, or had a great time playing the character, really enjoyed it, or like, hey, this was seemed daunting, but I really liked it. It could be anything.
You know, I'm every time I'm on a set is a lesson in some aspect of the entertainment industry.
Sure.
Whether it is a hyper professional set where everyone is so laser focused on their job and they are not paying any attention to you. I'm in a on the show Beyond the Gates, which is a daytime soap opera that's shot here in Atlanta, and that is like you're here, you go, you walk here, someone takes you here, you stand there, you do your scene, you go back, and it's just very much a machine.
Right.
And there's some comfort in that because you know what to expect. Then you've got indie sets where people don't know what they're doing and they're just like, you don't even know whose job is what. And you have actors like doing craft services and you're just like, God. And so, there are always these surprises, but I'm trying to take each one as a lesson in like, when I am doing this, when I'm producing something, and I've done a little producing, I mean, I did some on Sugarcane, like, how do I want to run a set? And so I don't know that it's not specific to me as an actor, but
Sure.
as a professional performer, I just had no idea how much I was going to be learning, and how quickly I would have to be learning things about the business, about the organization, about, I naively, as someone who loves acting, thought, well, you go on set, you play pretend, yay.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're done. Yeah.
But when you're on your 50th take of something,
Right.
or you're getting coverage from a bunch of different angles, and you're like, did I put that fork in my mouth after I said that word, or did I say, how did I? And it's just like, and then trying to also be in character. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that I think most of my surprises are probably yet to come.
Yeah. I mean, no, not to mention you also got all the lighting, right? You're just like, it's like bright lights in your face. You feel like you're on like, fire in the sky, like an alien abduction. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen like, I mean, whenever I make like a TikTok video and I have my little ring light or whatever, I'm like, God, this feels like abrasive. And they're like, oh, have you ever been on a movie set? I'm like, no. And they're like, you got 40 of them just like lighting up
All over
scenes
you.
and stuff all over you.
No. And just having to like stare into it sometimes.
Yeah. And then you got the boom, the microphones, everybody. There's a lot you don't see behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah.
It is amazing. Just panning, just pulling out like a few feet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 20 people standing there.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So the last two questions I have are kind of more like I don't want to say personal, but just for you directly. But the first one is like, obviously this is, we love horror films. This was a more psychological thriller with some horror elements for sure in it. We've got everything. It's a very layered genre. Slashers, you got your psychological thrillers, which is kind of where I put this one at. It kind of gave me a very Silence of the Lambs feeling to it, right? Do you have a favorite horror movie? Are you a horror fan?
I my favorite horror movies are probably not horror movies.
Okay.
Um, for example, Midsommar is one of my favorite films,
Yeah.
but Ari Aster would consider it a comedy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a film like that. But I mean, I'm also like an old school, like The Shining, which again is like a psychological thriller. I don't
Yep.
know that that's a horror movie. You've got the Exorcist. Just I love. As a matter of fact, I've taken both of my children together and separately to the steps
Yeah.
in outside of Washington D.C.
Nice.
We ran up and down them, and I was like, "Look,
That's
cool
awesome.
stuff." Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, my answers on any like favorite whatever movie, director, actor changes from day to day.
Mine too.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Except for my number one. My number one stays the same. Everything else is fluid.
What is your number one?
The Lost Boys, which is actually kind of like a horror comedy, right?
It is a comedy, yeah, for sure.
Very funny. I mean, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim, like obviously, it's very comedic and 100% 80s, totally 80s. The wardrobe, the music, which was fantastic. But like everybody say that and people are like, "Oh, that's not really horror." I'm like, "It's a vampire movie."
Right?
And yeah, it's a teenage
Yeah.
vampire movie, but it's very much a horror comedy.
Yep.
And there's, I mean, the other one of the, as a kid. Speaking of Corey movies, what was it called? Silver Bullet.
Yep.
Yep.
Gary Busey.
Yes.
Corey Haim in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the priest is the werewolf. And
Yep.
It's just that's Stephen King, I guess. So.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
it is Stephen
Yeah.
King. Yep, yep. But yeah, so I mean, 80s was my favorite like decade for horror. I thought the 80s was great because it was like the combination of like campy comedy
Right.
and also you had your obviously you had your slashers, you had your Michaels and Freddy's and Jasons and all that, but I feel like they were much more, it focused on like my aunt got me into horror and she had me watching like the Universal monsters and she was a big Bela Lugosi fan. So we watched a lot of black and white monster movies and then kind of graduated into a lot of 80s stuff.
Sure.
So I just love the look and the feel and like the nostalgia and just like the camp to it.
I love, and that's again, Wes Craven is another guy who he makes horror movies that are social satires, and I
Yes.
love that. And actually, John Carpenter does the same thing.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does.
And you look at, just examining like what Michael Myers represents and his relationship with the teen I guess young women and there was someone else who I was gonna talk about from the 80s, one of those 80s. Now I've like totally lost.
Yeah, Carpenter was great. He had a great way of doing it, but just everything about the 80s because it was before the practical effects. It was more about letting the mind wander and think about things and what you didn't see and then what you did see a lot of it. I mean, in the first Halloween there was almost no blood.
No blood.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was just a couple of scenes where you saw like a little bit, I think, when she got it on her arm from behind but very minimal, right? And so like I appreciate that because I'm like, you know what? You didn't have to and I'm one that like now I'm like, yeah, like gore, woohoo, splatter, like fun, like, I'm all for that too in my horror movies, but like it's just there's something about being able to create and elicit that response of fear and tension without having to do that, without having to go and be like, hey, let's open somebody up like a book. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
And that was one of the powerful aspects of Blair Witch. When it came out. I mean, like, there's almost nothing that happens in that movie.
it's like an hour and a half of people walking through the woods, and what was brilliant about that is this was obviously like I don't remember if it was pre like it was pretty much pre social media and like pre
Oh,
or
for
like
sure. It was
so
Oh
early
yeah,
it was
internet.
yeah, so like early
very early
internet. So
internet. Yeah,
nobody had it was not like we could open up our phone and be like, okay, that's fake. You know what I mean? Like the marketing campaign that they ran was absolutely brilliant. We all thought this was real. We all thought there was some witch out there and what was it, was
these
it West
people were
Virginia?
dead. Yeah,
Wherever I forget where it was based, but yeah, I thought it was real and it was terrifying. But yeah, nothing really happened.
No, it is that they could take a scene that is just a teenage boy standing in the corner with his back to you
Yeah.
and make that like give people nightmares.
Yes.
Nothing happens.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's I mean, I was yeah, 80s was my favorite decade, but then you kind of roll into the 90s, which was where Blair Witch was, when we had that whole slasher like meta resurgence, I would say, with like and really it was Wes Craven with Scream in
Scream. Yep.
1996. And he made this movie and really, I mean, changed everything about the genre. Really, you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, you had like Cherry Falls, there was a lot of like meta slashers, Urban Legend, all of those in that 90s period. That was a
Right.
lot of
And then
fun
all the
too.
ones that they stole from Japan.
Yep.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
Ring.
The
Yep,
Ring,
yep,
yeah.
and then the Grudge, all of
The
those, yeah.
Grudge.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I actually we started. I did like I'm doing a segment on TikTok about foreign horror, and I'm like, man, how come all of the foreign horror movies they're always so much better than the American remakes or stolen versions, like you mentioned? I'm like, well, yeah, because I feel like they're not afraid to push the envelope. I feel like they tackle subject matters in a lot of foreign horror that we don't want to tackle in the U.S.
Right.
Dealing with grief, mental health, a lot of those things that, in America, we're like, oh no, we can't do that. But like, Japan's like, watch this. Okay.
Yeah.
France is like, here you go. Like, we're going to have a character who has major trauma due to, XYZ dealing with those traumas. So I think it's very interesting how that works.
Yeah, there's some
But,
great Raw.
oh
That's
yeah.
a great movie. Titan.
Titan Inside. Did you see Inside?
Yes.
Oh,
Jeez.
talk about horrifying. Like I remember being like, I was watching that when my wife was pregnant, and she was like, what are you watching? And I'm like, a movie that right now is not going to be one you need to watch. And she's like, all right, I'll take your word for it. So, but my final question I have for you, we're getting close to time, is I ask all actors, producers, filmmakers, if you could give someone a piece of advice, someone who's looking to getting into acting or producing or working on movie sets, being, anything, what piece of advice would you give them? Just to, how to address it and get into it.
Yeah. It's the same advice that when I was asked to give advice to teachers who or people who wanted to get into teaching, and that
Right.
is, if you do not absolutely believe with your heart and soul that this is what you're meant to do, and if you don't love it, even though it is nothing but rejection and pain for most of the time,
Right.
Right.
then you got to get out. Then don't find something else to
Don't
do.
even bother. Yeah.
Because I mean, so like just as an actor, I mean, most of my day is spent trying to get a job. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like, whether I'm auditioning or just um, searching for potential jobs, whether it's an audio book or a podcast or whatever. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just like constant.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then trying to figure out, all right, well, if I can't work in this, how am I going to make money otherwise?
Right.
Um, and so, a lot of people give up, just like with
Right.
teaching. Most teachers, I think half of all teachers only last 5 years.
Oh wow.
I believe it.
Yeah. So you have to love the art, and you have to be prepared for a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
People like Andrew Garfield worked at Starbucks and didn't have an acting job for 10 years, and that was after he had already been cast in major roles.
Yeah. That's
I
wild.
mean, and that story is not uncommon.
Right.
So that's, the advice is you got to love it, and you got to be willing to just stick it out if you really want to do it, because
Yeah.
those rewards do not come easily. And if they do, then there is some trap happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be like you got to be a go-getter too. Like you got to be like active, like and like you said, searching for roles, searching for things, like sending in audition tapes, things and that. And I remember when we first started doing the podcast, and I was like talking to a few people, and they were like, "Hey, when you go to these conventions," oh, sorry, there's my cat down there. Whenever you go into these conventions, and I'm like, talking to actors, talking to I want to ask them, "Hey, come on the podcast. Can I do a quick interview with you?" And I was afraid, and they're like, "Nah." They're like, one of the biggest piece of advice that someone gave me was talk to everybody, ask everybody, because the worst you're going to get is a no. And yeah, that's tough dealing with rejection. You mentioned it. It's not fun. Nobody likes it. But guess what? I have heard a lot. I've heard a lot of yeses too, in addition to a lot. I mean, way more no's, but
Yeah.
to your point, I love doing this. You love what you're doing. If you love it, you're willing to be like, okay, I can push through that. And because it is worth it whenever the things do work out. And when something is great, you're like, this makes it all the rejection worth it.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing and that is to just always be curious and willing to continue learning. I think it's easier for me to say that because this really is a second life career for me.
Right.
I mean, I'm 50, but you have got to always be willing to know that you just don't ever know enough, and you should, be asking questions and be taking classes and
For sure.
and be curious.
Right. Absolutely. That's really good advice. I think that's
advice. Yeah.
yeah, everybody needs to I always said if you get stagnant, then it's probably time to do something different. You should always be wanting to improve and trying to be better and trying to ask how and why and how can I improve. So those are definitely great words of wisdom. So, well, that's all that I had. We're right about, at our time. I want to give you a second. You can shout out if you want to shout anybody out, or if you want to tell everybody where they can find you on your social medias. The film, obviously, Sugarcane is on Tubi and Amazon. That's the big one. So you can go out there and watch the film. But I'll just give you a minute to kind of, give anyone a shout out to if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. You can find me at the Michael Mao on Insta. That's pretty much the only social that I do anything on. And honestly, it's mostly just if I'm promoting things.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know that like right now, Mao House, my production company, I'm working on helping to produce a TV series pilot called Marthasville, which we're really excited about.
Very cool.
I'm also helping to produce a film we're shooting in October out in LA called POV, which is a horror film that is inspired heavily by David Fincher.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, and I know that Postmortem, the folks at Postmortem are working right now on finishing up writing their second feature, Honeypot.
Yep.
And we've been doing some preliminary casting for that, which is cool.
Awesome.
Watching some tapes, and so that's what's happening in my world.
Awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing the future projects from Postmortem and also from your production company as well. So yeah, keep us posted on POV and some of those other projects as they progress. It was excellent talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting about Sugarcane. Like I said, go out to Tubi, go out to Amazon Prime and watch Sugarcane and Arthur, the Bunny Man. You will not want to close your eyes tonight. But yes, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, Michael.
Yes, thanks, Michael.
This is a lot of fun, guys.
All right, have a good rest of your evening.
Take care.
All right, bye now.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.